All right, let's be honest. Have you ever just stared at an English word and thought, there is no way this makes any sense? You know, words like though, through, and bow. They're a total nightmare, right? Well, today, we're going to crack one of linguistics' greatest cold cases and finally figure out why.
So yeah, why does English spelling make no sense? It's a question that has driven people crazy for centuries. Whether you're learning the language or you've spoken it your whole life, and if you've ever thought it's just completely random and illogical, well, you're not wrong, but you're also not alone. It turns out there's a very real historical culprit behind all this madness.
Okay, so to get to the bottom of this, let's start our investigation with a few key clues. First up, let's take a simple word like bite.
And then, how about the word meat?
And to round it out, mate. Now you look at those three, bite, meat, mate, and today they look and sound totally different. But here's the crazy part. Hundreds and hundreds of years ago, the vowels in those words actually sounded way more similar to each other. Their spelling today is kind of like a linguistic fossil, a little clue that points to a secret history we are about to dig up. All right, so let's get right to it. The scene of the crime? English spelling itself. It's just weird, right? It's a system that seems to be absolutely packed with contradictions and exceptions to every rule.
And believe it or not, there is one prime suspect. It's not a person, it's not a committee that made bad decisions. It's a massive, single historical event that literally changed the entire sound of the English language. It took the English of the past, something we'd barely even recognize, and twisted it into the language we speak today. Okay, time to name names. The culprit is the Great Vowel Shift. And yeah, it sounds super dramatic, doesn't it? But it wasn't like a single explosion. Think of it more like a slow-motion revolution that played out over centuries.
So what does that even mean? Well, put simply, it was this massive chain reaction, like a set of linguistic dominoes falling one after another. It completely changed how all the long vowels in English were pronounced. And here's the kicker. The real problem? While the sounds of the language were on the move, the written spellings, well, they just stayed.
Let's put this on a timeline to really see what happened. If you go back to around 1400, the time of Chaucer, things were pretty straightforward. The way a word was spelled was a pretty good guide to how it was pronounced. Simple enough. But then this critical window opens up. Between 1400 and 1600, right as we're heading into Shakespeare's time, this is when the shift really kicks into high gear. Vowel sounds start moving all over the place. And our spelling? It gets frozen in time, right in the middle of all that chaos, while the sounds just keep on changing. That's the disconnect. That's the problem we still live with today. Okay, so we know what happened, but how? How in the world did this actually work? I mean, how does an entire language just change its sounds so dramatically?
So here's a great way to picture it. Imagine a vowel elevator inside your mouth. Each long vowel sound essentially rode this elevator up to the position of the vowel sound that was just above it. It's a classic chain reaction, you know? One vowel moves up, and it bumps the next one out of its spot, forcing it to move up too.
And this is where it gets really cool, because you could actually hear the change. Take the word mice. Today we say mice, right? Well, back in Chaucer's day, it would have sounded like meese. You hear that? That long E sound, meese, literally moved up in the mouth and became the I sound we have in mice. Wild.
And it wasn't just at the front of the mouth. The same thing happened at the back. The word house, it used to be pronounced hoos. Yeah, like H-O-O-S, hoos. Think of the modern word boot or whose. That oo sound also moved up and broke into the ow sound we know in house today.
So this table really lays out the whole chain reaction. The vowel sound in the old word mate moved up and became the sound we now have in meat. The sound in meat moved up to become the sound in bite. But wait a minute, what about the vowels that were already at the very top, like that original E sound? They were at the top of the elevator, right? They had nowhere left to go up. So what happened? They broke. They fell off the top and broke into two sounds. That's what linguists call a diphthong. Basically one vowel sound just kind of sliding into another one, like that I sound in bite. Okay, so we've got the what and the how. We know the vowels moved. But why? What on earth could have caused this massive, language-altering shift to begin with? Well, that turns out to be the part of the mystery that's still unsolved. There are a bunch of competing theories. Linguists have been debating this for ages. Was it a massive migration of people into London after the Black Death, causing all these different dialects to mix and making people change how they talked to stand out? Or maybe it was social class, the rising middle class trying to sound fancier, maybe even trying to copy prestigious French pronunciations. Or maybe the exact opposite. Maybe it was a patriotic thing, people deliberately trying to sound less French during the long wars with France. Or Was it just a natural change? One vowel shifting just a little bit, pushing the others out of the way in a domino effect. The honest truth? We really don't know for sure.
And that's the crucial thing to remember. We can map out what happened with incredible precision. We can trace the path of every single vowel. But the exact why, the trigger that started it all, that remains one of the greatest cold cases in the history of linguistics. It's just a fascinating puzzle that, for now, has no single definitive answer. Which brings us to the final, and honestly the most important piece of this whole puzzle. Okay, fine. Pronunciation changes. But why didn't the spelling just change along with it? That seems like the logical thing to do, right?
The answer comes down to one thing: technology. A brand new, world-changing technology that arrived in England right around 1476, thanks to a guy named William Caxton. You guessed it, the printing press. And this is where the timing becomes absolutely crucial. It's like a perfect storm of linguistic chaos. So first, you've got the vowel sounds starting to shift all across England. Then, bam, the printing press arrives. And for printing to be efficient, you need a single, standard way to spell words. So the printers, they basically had to pick a spelling and stick with it. And the spelling they chose was based on how words were pronounced before the vowel shift was even finished. They essentially froze the spelling in place, right in the middle of this massive change. But our spoken language? It just kept evolving for another 200 years. The result is this permanent, frustrating disconnect between how we write and how we speak.
You know, the crazy thing is, this didn't happen to every language. Other languages, like German for instance, they had similar vowel shifts happen. But the big difference? They actually updated their spelling to match the new sounds. English, because of that really unfortunate timing with the printing press, just didn't. We got stuck.
And that really is the heart of it, the main takeaway from all this. Our spelling system is basically a museum piece. It's a historical artifact. Every time you read an English word, you are looking at the ghost of a pronunciation that's over 500 years old. We're basically reading a 15th century language, but speaking a 21st century one.
So that leaves us with a really fascinating question to chew on, doesn't it? If our spelling hadn't been frozen solid back then, what would English even look like today? How would we write a word like bite or meat? It's impossible to say for sure, but it's definitely something to think about the next time a word's spelling is driving you crazy. You're not bad at spelling. You're just dealing with a 500-year-old mystery.